I have something really important to tell you today. Are you ready? Gaining weight, it's not a criminal offense. It isn't. And yet, some of us act as though it is. And we're going to talk a little bit about why you should sort of reframe that today. Stay tuned.
You're listening to the Wellness Simplified podcast. Simple wellness tips to help you improve your life without turning it upside down. With your host, award-winning fitness instructor, nutrition coach, and wellness expert, Susie Fevens.
Welcome back to the podcast. Yes, I want to talk about this idea of how gaining weight is not a criminal offense. I mean, truly we know that it's not a criminal offense, and yet, do we? But before we get into that, I also want to say that losing weight, that's also not a criminal offense. Gaining or losing or staying the same, none of those are a criminal offense. And unless you are in a position where you need to gain weight or you need to lose weight for medical reasons, and those times happen, unless you're in one of those positions, in which case it's still not a criminal offense to gain or lose weight, but it might be a little bit more important that we focus on gaining or losing. But for the average human being, the average fairly healthy person just living their life without any real known medical issues requiring gaining or losing of weight, your weight, it should not be something that consumes you. It should not be something that is consuming your life. And you may say, okay, Susie, well, it doesn't consume my life. Fabulous. But do you find it triggering or upsetting to go shopping for new clothes? Do you find yourself looking at yourself in the mirror or saying, I need to lose weight, or making comments about your body that are not the most kind? Maybe you're not fixated on your weight, but perhaps you spend a little bit more time than necessary thinking about your size, thinking about how other people think about your size. And I think a lot of things going on there. I think that is really the biggest part is we think that other people are spending all of their time thinking about how we look, when really, you know what? Each person is really thinking about how they look and how other people think about what they look. I'm telling you, there's a lot of thinking going on, and a lot of the thinking is based on things that nobody else is even thinking about. But what I really want to get to is this idea that gaining weight or losing is not a criminal offense. We are now, I don't even want to do the math, let's say a year and a half into this global pandemic. First things first, global pandemics, thankfully, do not come along all that often. So there's a very, very good chance that this pandemic is the only global pandemic, or the last global pandemic, that we're going to have to worry about. I mean, fingers crossed. Anything could happen. But generally speaking, they don't happen all that frequently, like once every 100 years or so, I think. At this magnitude, obviously we have had other smaller outbreaks like the H1N1, etc. Let's not get into that. Let's not go down that rabbit hole. But let's just say in general, global pandemics, they don't come along all that often. Now, if we look back to like the Spanish flu, so that pandemic was the most recent global pandemic prior to the one we're currently in, 1918, about 100 years ago. How much time have you spent in history class or learning about the Spanish flu pandemic worried about how much weight anyone gained during that pandemic? You haven't spent any time worrying about it, because you know why? Nobody cares. Listen, your body has got one job. That job is to try to keep you alive. And if we find our way to the other side of this pandemic, and the worst thing that's happened to your physical body throughout this pandemic, where millions and millions of people have died, and millions of people have had COVID and are now going to experience the long COVID, the COVID lung, whatever these things that are going to come up in their lives after having had this disease, if the worst thing that happened to you physically is that you gained 15, 20, 30, whatever amount of pounds, like pat yourself on the back, like say a prayer, celebrate, because that is friggin' fantastic. If you come out of a global pandemic where millions and millions and millions of people have died and you have gained 15 pounds, who the hell cares, right? Your body has done its job. It kept you alive, and maybe part of keeping you alive was holding on to a little bit of extra weight so that it would have some resources if you did fall ill. Okay, this is not a criminal thing. Your body has done what it was supposed to do. My body did what it was supposed to do. Yes, I have gained weight. It's obvious when you look at me. Like, I'm not trying to hide it. It is what it is. It doesn't make me any worse at what I do. It doesn't make me any better at what I do. I'm still the same person. I've gained a few pounds because my body has been protecting me from the stress of living in a pandemic. Maybe some of it has to do with some food choices. Maybe I ate a little bit more junk food in the run of 18 months than I normally would. My exercise obviously didn't really change. I did experience burnout a couple of times during this pandemic, as has most everybody to differing degrees. My stress levels have been higher than usual. I've had to reinvent my business a number of times. I don't have any children, so I don't have that children side of things, but everybody who does, you've had to deal with all of those things, like the stress, the cortisol levels, the adrenaline, all of the things. And all your body has been doing is trying to keep you alive. But I hear and am involved in so many conversations in the run of a week from people who are like, I just got to lose this weight. You will if you're meant to. If that weight is meant to come back off, it will come back off. I truly believe in a body's set weight, that everybody has a set weight that your body is happiest at. Nobody's body is super happy right now. We are still trying to get through this pandemic. And here in Nova Scotia, we've been fairly safe throughout, but we've still had lockdowns and we've still had these breakouts, and we've still had to deal with all of these things and changing regulations and all of this stuff. Your body's just been trying to keep you alive. Gaining weight during a pandemic is like the best possible outcome for your physical body. It's not something that I want you to fixate on. Yeah, maybe it would be wise to add in a little bit more movement if you haven't been moving as much as you normally would. Yeah, maybe we should drink a bit more water. Maybe you should try to get a little extra sleep, because that's going to help more than a lot of other things. Maybe we need to focus on some of those things. Sure. But gaining weight isn't a criminal offense. It's not. And we need to stop treating ourselves as though it is. As though we're some sort of disgusting, horrible human because, God forbid, we've gained 15 pounds over a very stressful period of time. And you know what? Maybe you or some other people you know fall on the other end of that spectrum where you lose weight during stressful periods. And they've gotten progressively smaller, and you might be thinking, like, how great do they look? Look how small they are. Meanwhile, I'm over here in my jogging pants. I can't even get my jeans on, feeling like a blob, and they're out looking fantastic. They might look fantastic, but they might not feel fantastic. Just because somebody is living in a slim body doesn't mean that they're living in a healthy body. Doesn't mean that they're not either. But truly, wherever you find yourself at the end of this, don't beat yourself up. Don't beat yourself up. Cut yourself some slack. Your body has just been trying to keep you alive. So far, it has succeeded every single day. That's pretty great. Many of us have now been vaccinated. Our chances of getting COVID have been reduced substantially. And even if we do, the severity of it is going to be a whole lot less than those who haven't been vaccinated. So even though the pandemic is still happening, we are coming close to the end of those super stressful periods, hopefully. Oh my gosh, I hope nothing, like don't yell Jumanji or something. But we're starting to find our way out of it. You're going to be able to release some of that extra weight or regain some of the weight that you've lost if that is your story, if you need to. Some people may find that the weight that they gained was weight their body actually needed. And vice versa, some people may find that weight that they lost because they're weight losers during stressful periods, that might be weight that their body needed to lose and they found their set point. We all have, in my opinion, a set point. And if you're a little bit above yours right now, as I am, it's okay. It's okay, truly. It's going to be okay. Stop beating yourself up. You know what that's going to do? It's just going to make you feel worse. So what you're going to do is you're going to go out and buy yourself a couple pairs of pants that fit, if you haven't already. Because nothing's going to make you feel worse about yourself than cramming yourself into pants that don't fit. You're going to make sure that you have a couple pairs, whether you buy them new or thrift them or whatever, or trade with a friend. I don't care. You need a couple pairs of pants that fit. Don't waste your time worrying about the size of the pants. Listen, I went jean shopping last week. I know. I know the situation. Like, it took me a good half an hour of going in and out of the fitting room trying on jeans to find the pair that fit. Because even within the same brand, you can be a whole span of sizes. Don't fixate on the size. Who gives a shit? Okay? Nobody. Find pants that fit and feel good and make you feel like you look good. Because when you have the right fitting pair of pants, you will feel like you look good. Because you do. But it's going to boost your self-confidence, even if the size is something that you're like, oh, I don't like the size. Who cares? Okay, forget about the size. They make those things up. They are not standard. Did you know that, like, in men's jeans, like, they'll have, like, waist size 32 and, like, inseam, and then you have some jean manufacturers for women use those types of numbers, so, like, 32, 34, whatever, and you think that that is the actual inches. It's not. It's ridiculous. It's like a 32 or 33 not inch. See, I was going to say it. 33 size pair of silver jeans that I have. They're not a 33 inch waist. There's something completely different. It's not even close. Like, it's absolutely ridiculous. So forget about sizes. They are nonsense. They are made up. They make no sense whatsoever. Just find pants or skirt or whatever you wear the most of that fit. And instead of berating yourself for, I can't believe that I let myself gain all this weight, or I can't believe I've gained this weight, or whatever dialogue you're telling to yourself, say, oh my gosh, I'm so thankful that my body recognized this stressful situation and has done its job and kept me alive. Yeah, I gained a little bit of extra weight, but I know that in time that will come back off. And I'm just going to make sure that I'm doing the things that I know make me feel good, and then my body will respond accordingly. It's not a criminal offense. It's not. You're fabulous just as you are. You're going to be even more fabulous if you're wearing pants that fit and make you feel good. And if you're doing things that make you feel good, that might make some of that weight come back off, might add a little bit more. Who knows? It depends on what your body needs. Regardless of where you are or where you end up or where you wish to be, gaining weight is just that. Gaining weight. It is not good. It is not bad. It just is what it is. That's it for today's podcast. I hope you've enjoyed this one. This is the first in a 3-part series. And next week, we're going to be talking about where to start. So you bought some new pants that fit. You're feeling better about yourself. You understand that, you know what? Your body's just been doing what it needs to do to keep you healthy during this time. But maybe you want to indulge in finding some ways to support your health in a way that feels good. We're going to talk a little bit about where to start next week. So I hope you'll tune back in. Have a wonderful weekend. go buy some pants. And I will talk to you next week.